From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
I'm Jolie Salee in downtown Bozeman behind the Crystal Bar, where a night at the bars turned violent.
And just ahead, when you think you can take a breath because COVID seems to be winding down, there's a new warning about this year's flu season. 6:36, find out why doctors are saying it's more important than ever to get that flu shot.
Several fire departments responded to two grass fires that broke out on I-90 near Whitehall.
6:30 on this Friday. Oh, we made it to Friday, Matt.
Is it Friday already?
You're here. Look at that, a little damp in the mining city. Temperatures very fall-like finally, and for the first time it seems like in months, it's actually been days. The smoke isn't the first thing you notice when you walk out your door.
And it doesn't smell like smoke.
Yeah.
Overall, our air quality is much better to start the morning. We do have some rain showers. We may see a little bit of a breeze at times through the afternoon, but most of our temperatures really not bad. We're 40s and 50s. That's actually a couple of degrees warmer, only because we have some cloud cover. But with the rain showers that are falling, it does actually feel a little chilly and fall-like out there. Of course, fall's still a few days away, but it's going to start to feel that way as we get into the next week. Spotty showers through the afternoon and evening. You look at the day planner for Bozeman, beautiful for the morning. The afternoon does bring some showers. There is the possibility of a couple of passing showers as you get into the evening, but overall much cooler. We're going to talk about another big cool down for next week. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Matt. 6:31 now. Police are calling it a brutal attack. A man pinned between a pickup and dumpster during a large fight in downtown Bozeman. As MTN's Jolie Salee reports, police still investigating and say there could be more victims and attackers.
3 people reportedly messing with another man's truck caused a huge bar fight here in an alley behind the Crystal Bar. A man was beaten when he came out to confront the suspects, and another was hit by a car, pinning him up against a dumpster.
I've seen the video of it. It was a very graphic and brutal beating. There, one of which was very seriously injured and received medical attention for a collapsed lung, lacerations.
Bozeman Police Captain Dana McNeil said thanks to surveillance cameras in the alley, they were able to watch footage from the altercation. After the fight, suspects Jose Dominguez, Alfonso Dominguez, and Brian Valencia, seen here in court, reportedly hopped in their vehicle and fled the scene. McNeil said luckily there was a police officer nearby when the call came out.
That officer did call out a short pursuit with that vehicle, but was able to get the vehicle to pull over and contact the individuals in that car.
I talked to an employee at the Crystal Bar who didn't want to be on camera, but he said the man who was struck by the truck was also an employee at the bar, and he said he is lucky to be alive. He told me over the last 2 years he has seen an increase in violence downtown. Police are still investigating the incident, and Captain McNeil encourages anyone who was involved or witnessed the fight to call the Bozeman police.
They are hoping that the public can help us in this case. And additionally, if you are a victim as well, from our review and investigation, we think that there may be other victims who we would really like to talk to.
In Bozeman, Jolie Salee, MTN News.
All right, 6:33 in other news this morning. Many borrowers are excited about President Biden's student loan forgiveness program, but now there's a question of how much this will cost the country and who's going to pay for it. Alexa Liaco getting answers on that.
Well, researchers did the math and they calculated that the student debt cancellation program could end up costing the average American taxpayer about $2,500 per person.
What we are saying is that this plan has costs, that the Biden administration has not proposed a way to pay for the debt cancellation policy.
Andrew Lutz is the director of federal policy for the conservative-leaning National Taxpayers Union Foundation. His organization calculated an estimated $400 billion cost for the forgiveness program based on the number of people with student loans. They divided it by the number of American taxpayers, around 158 million people. The average cost, $2,500 per taxpayer.
It's important for people to understand that no, your taxes are not going up as a result of this policy.
Increased taxes in the future is just one possibility. The government could also decrease spending or increase the national debt.
It's hard to predict what Congress is going to do to address the debt in the future, but the longer we kick the can down the road, the more painful either the spending cuts or the tax increases are going to be.
Beverly Moran, professor emerita of law at Vanderbilt University, views the issue differently. She says this is a cost our nation should help with.
I think that all of us should be grateful for it because what's the alternative? I mean, to have 45 million people who are in some sort of debt serfdom, debt servitude, because we made mistakes in our higher education policy.
She argues the program might help people who were never going to pay off their loans start doing so.
If somebody owes $14,000 and that looks impossible to them, and now they're owing $4,000, that they might pay that $4,000 when they would have never paid the $14,000.
But she knows forgiveness has high costs and is frustrated that it doesn't help fix the bigger issue of how expensive higher education has become.
What we need to be discussing much more is how our federal policy led us to this moment. Is this the right way to fund higher education? By having higher and higher and higher tuitions that are then covered by federal loans.
Lutz agrees and says the cost of this program will be far higher for our country if policy around higher education costs doesn't change soon.
We worry that this debt cancellation policy is actually going to embolden colleges to further increase their tuition and fees. Without underlying reforms to the cost of college, this is actually going to make the problem worse for future generations of students.
I'm Alexa Liacco reporting.
Definitely more to follow on that story. Meantime, 6:36, there's a lot of focus right now on COVID boosters, but public health leaders are saying now's also a time to plan for your flu vaccine. Maya Rodriguez shows us why there are concerns this year's flu season will be far worse than the last several years and may even start early.
Call it a twofer. Pharmacies and healthcare centers across the country are offering the latest COVID booster shot along with this year's flu vaccine.
Both of those are needed. Both of those should be scheduled as soon as possible and ideally at the same time so that one doesn't fall into the trap of getting one and then just forgetting to get back for the other.
And it's the coming flu season that is worrying experts, in part because other parts of the world offer a sneak peek of what to expect.
It was Australia's worst flu season in 5 years, and it came earlier than any other influenza season with the exception of the 2009 pandemic.
And that's the concern now, that this year's flu season may start earlier than usual. As of early September, Georgia is already seeing moderate flu activity. And in Texas and New Mexico, the CDC says flu activity level is already high in those two states. Flu season normally doesn't get underway until October, while peaking in January and February.
The belief is that because people have been taking precautions and social distancing, wearing masks and making sure they wash their hands, that's actually helped keep the flu virus down. But now that many people aren't maintaining a lot of those precautions, and also the fact that people haven't been exposed to the flu over the past couple of years, leave people a lot more susceptible.
Including the elderly and children, who doctors warn can be vulnerable to the flu.
The best thing you can do to get your child ready to stay healthy and in school is to get them fully vaccinated and boosted. It is a lot as a parent of 3 kids, and I can't take them all at once because then they all scream together. I know this pain, but it is really important to keep your child healthy and in school.
This as both COVID and flu caseloads loom this fall for hospitals and healthcare providers.
We've learned a lot about managing cases through the COVID-19 pandemic. So certainly there's an awareness of what emergency rooms and other places, other healthcare providers need to do to deal with these surges. But it is a big unknown. And the sooner we sort of have an inkling of whether or not there is a larger surge of flu cases, the better off we'll be in terms of being able to prepare our healthcare system for dealing with these cases.
In the hopes of preventing a fall and winter strain on the nation's medical system. In Washington, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
All right, 6:39 now. It may be cool and damp right now, but dry and windy conditions earlier have made for dangerous fire conditions. TN's Caitlin Aguilar shows us how some local firefighters managed to keep a brush fire this week from getting out of hand.
2 grass fires that broke out on I-90 would have gotten out of hand if it weren't for the teamwork of several fire departments.
We had a really good crew of people, so we were on it quick and we got it out. But fires that have a lot of wind where they get into the trees are pretty challenging to fight. So if you don't have enough people, I mean, they can get out of hand pretty quick.
The Whitehall Fire Chief, Joe Granvold, has put out fires caused by rail cars, chains, and cigarettes over the past years. It's unknown what caused the fires on I-90, but Granvold suspects they were caused by chains dragging on the road.
Got any kind of metal dragging that's going to cause sparks and hot pieces of metal that are going to wear off and go off to the side of the road. And as dry as the grass is, it will definitely cause a fire.
Granvold says it would have been difficult to handle these fires without the help of departments from surrounding communities.
It's pretty hard to get people during the day, so it takes a lot of people to put out, a 2-acre fire. Just with all the other fire departments that came in, it really helps out.
In Whitehall, Caitlin Aguiles, MTN News.